Welcome back to a Timey-Wimey pod, where we watch every episode of Doctor Who from 2005 onwards. My name's Rebecca.
I'm Haley.
And today we are discussing The Legend of Ruby Sunday, which aired June 14th and was written by Russell T Davies and directed by Jamie Donahue.
So much to say, so much to talk about. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot even. What was this episode? Also, I was right.
You did get. I do have to give you credit. You called TARDIS groaning thing. Like I saw, you had that theory. Some other people had that theory, and I really didn't believe y'all. But you were right, and I have to give you your props for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That is the only thing I was right about. I will just say, so far, at least.
So far, are you ready for some fantastic facts?
Yes, I am.
So obviously, in this episode, we see the return of Sutek, who was first seen in the period of Mars in 1975, which was a Fourth Doctor story. And the voice actor, Gabriel Wolf, returned for this episode to do the voice of Sutek again at 91 years old, 49 years later. And I think that's so cool. And he also did the voice of the Beast in series 2, The Satan Pit. So love that. I love that they were able to bring him back. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I thought the voice sounded super familiar, and little did I know.
No, it really did sound familiar, but obviously now we know why. Lenny Rush, who plays Morris Gibbons in this episode, was originally going to be the voice of Eric in Space Babies.
I did know this fact.
Yeah, I guess they changed their mind kind of last minute because they wanted to bring him in for a bigger role. And I'm really glad they did because this is a lot more interesting than Space Babies. No offense to Space Babies. But yeah, I love that. My next fantastic fact is that the time window that we see in this episode is pretty much all a practical effect. Like, it's not green screen. I need everyone to
What?
run to the YouTube Doctor Who YouTube channel and watch the behind the scenes video because the way they made this is insane. The director said it was one of the hardest things they ever had to do, and it would have been so much easier to do just like green screen CGI, but that he has no regrets and that they're so glad they did it this way. They basically like scanned the church and like mapped the whole site out, and I'm not even going to try to explain how they did it because I don't understand, but everyone go watch the behind the scenes because what we saw in the episode is what they filmed. It's insane. Now I hear you have some fantastic facts as well.
Yes, I do have two little fun facts I found on my own, not on purpose. I saw a few comments where people were wondering where Ruth Madeley was, who plays Shirley.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess Ruth was busy filming during this block, so that's why she wasn't there.
Well, I'm hoping she
Yeah.
comes back next season because I did miss her. Though I love the current unit team, the unit team that we got in this episode, but she's so great and I really want her to come back.
I completely agree. And this last fact I have here for you all is kind of a little shout out. So Sophie Cowdery on Twitter, also known as X, I will always refer to it as Twitter. I don't care. She is one of the graphic designers for Doctor Who, and she has been kind of showing all of her work since the anniversary specials. And like, she designed the box that held the tape of the Church of Ruby Road.
Oh.
That Ruby and her mom bring in. So I found that really interesting. She also like did behind the scenes tweets and stuff about like the whole toy maker set when they're playing the game in the toy maker. So anyways, again, her name's Sophie Cowdery. It's just a really fun look if anyone's interested.
Sophie, you're gonna get a new Twitter follower tonight. Watch out.
Mm-hmm. Are you ready to start this episode? Because we have no time to waste.
No, we really don't. I do want to say a little disclaimer, everyone. We collectively don't have the best classic Who knowledge. I've seen a good amount of episodes. Period of Mars is not one I have. I saw before this episode, though I've been watching all the clips that have been posted online, which has been really nice that they've been posting snippets. But yeah, so I just want to put that out there. Sorry, and just deal with it.
Yeah, sorry guys, you're just gonna have to be with us on the struggle bus.
So let's just jump into it then. Because we haven't seen Pyramid of Mars, how was the reveal for you? What talk me through your experience?
Okay, my experience, I do not remember a Doctor Who episode that was one made me genuinely scared of like this reveal
Mm,
had me. And I don't remember having as visceral as a response. I mean, I was gasping. I was literally shaking. I like was like, what? I will say there were a handful, and I mean a handful of people on
mm-hmm.
Twitter who kept coming on like my suggested feed on Twitter talking about the possibility of Sutek. So I knew a little bit about Sutek. And
Same.
I think since I had that possibility, it was still a shock, but it wasn't like a, oh my gosh, who the heck is this? Even though I'm still like, I really don't understand all the lore. I'm sorry. I don't. I'm still a little confused. But like at the same time, it wasn't like this character I've never heard of before. What was the reveal like for you?
I also saw some theories suggesting that Sutek was coming back or somehow going to be involved. So I had that context, like going in, like that could be one of the things that happens. And just the way the reveal is done is so crazy. And so, like, even if you don't fully know the context, like, you're still going to be shook. It's just like in Utopia. Like, when I first watched Utopia, I didn't know who the master was. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about Classic You at the time, but it was still like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. What is going on? And this, to me, this reveal, I saw it, I felt it more. I was watching it, and then it was like Sutek, and I was like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. I wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
necessarily shocked and like, oh my gosh, because I
Yeah.
didn't know Sutek's backstory, but I was like, oh, okay, the thing everyone's people have been talking about, that's what we're doing. Got it. Okay, I'm here. Cool. But the just the way it's revealed is so interesting. I love when like the screen turns black and we just see all the like
Yes.
words and oh, it's really cool and everything with the TARDIS. I agree. It's so scary, so
And
frightening.
the music. I did
Oh
not
yeah.
somehow, me being the person who literally notices everything, I did not notice the first time watching this. The music was the master's theme during this
Mm-hmm.
reveal.
No, it took me right back. I noticed right away.
Literally insane. I really feel like Russell was like, let me literally put every single possible theory in this episode to call out literally every single fan.
No, honestly. We got a lot of focus on Susan, the doctor's
We did.
granddaughter. They really were kind of trying to mislead us, and I'll be
Yeah.
honest. For a second, I was like, "Oh, maybe we are gonna get Susan," because I've been wanting to see Susan for so long. I want her to come back, and I was like, "Wait, if they're like building it up this much, and like there's Susan Triad and Susan Twist and so many Susans." It's like, okay, this has to be something, right? And like the doctor was talking about it, and he and Kate had that conversation. But I love the line at the end of the episode where Tech is like, "Did you really think I was family?" Like, oh, it makes it
Uh,
so heartbreaking. So maybe one day we'll see you, Susan, but I guess not today.
I agree with you. I was kind of the same where I was like, there's no way they're bringing Susan back. But at the same time, I'm like, they're building this up so much. Are we seriously getting Susan?
They kind of had me for a second, but
Yeah, they have me too.
yeah, which just makes the actual reveal even crazier. Okay, I want to talk about Unit and the opening Unit scene. First off, okay, I know we've seen the TARDIS fly a lot in the past couple eps this season and the 60th, but I just really need to talk about it how is the TARDIS just like flying all the time? Why doesn't it just materialize anymore? Like it used to not be able to really fly. Like remember in the Runaway Bride when they had to like fly on the freeway?
You're
Yes, we call it a
right.
freeway. Yeah, like what are we doing? Like how's it just flying all the time now?
I didn't even think about that, honestly.
No, it's been
Maybe it's
bugging
because
me.
it's possessed.
Maybe that I'm choosing to go with that for now.
I will say, though, I do love the shot of the TARDIS going
I
into
do love the
unit.
shot. Yeah. I love
I
them all
love
getting
it.
ready and them
Hmm.
being like the doctor's on the bridge or whatever they said, and it was a great scene of him coming in, and I love seeing him reunite with Rose Noble and talk to Cade and meet all the unit crew. That was really fun, and seeing Rose and Ruby meet, that was really fun.
Yeah, that was fun. What are your opinions on Morris Gibbons, the new unit scientific advisor?
I like him. I think it's fun. A nice little funny addition to the crew, and I'm excited to see more of him in next week's episode.
Me too.
Did you also catch the doctor asking Rose about her mom and her uncle?
Yes, which I still do not understand. So does 15 have zero memories of 14?
I don't
Like hanging
know.
with Donna. Where is 14 and Donna? Where are they off to? What are they doing? Like, what's going
Where is
on?
Donna? Why is she just letting her daughter, who, by the way, Rose is only supposed to be like 15 or 16? And I feel like we're forgetting that. And it's driving me crazy.
No, and it annoys me so much in shows and in movies when they cast actors or actresses and they look so much older than the age that they're supposed to be playing, and it's no hate on them at all or their capabilities. It's just literally like I don't get it.
Also, Donna would never just let Rose be like working in unit and hanging out in unit
Literally.
without her. Like, where are you, Donna?
Literally. Like I really find it hard to believe Donna would just like let her like just chill out.
I don't think she would let Rose near unit at all.
No, especially after the giggle.
Exactly. But maybe 14 convinced her.
I don't know. Or Rose is secretly there without Donna's approval.
Oh, that'd be funny. it seems like Donna has to know though, because Rose even like said a few times like, "Oh, my mom is part of unit, blah blah blah."
Oh yeah.
Which I loved when later in the episode when Carla is like, "Well, if your mom's involved, then I'm involved too."
Yes. I love that moment with Carlos so much. But in Unit, we also meet Harriet, which
Yes, we do.
this makes zero sense. But I literally thought when they were like, what's Harriet's full name? I thought they were going to say Harriet Jones. I don't
No,
understand
me
why.
too. Because I was like, because as soon as they said her name was Harriet, I was like, oh, something's up. Like, we did not just name
Yeah,
this random character Harriet for no reason.
interesting because I did not think much of her at all. Like I really didn't. I was like, oh, we get more Skippins, we get Harriet, like we're getting some new unit people. So that was like a shocking reveal. I did not expect her to be Harriet Arbinger, aka Harbinger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wasn't expecting that at all, but I was just like, okay, if her name's Harriet, like, there's a reason for that. Like, they didn't just name her Harriet for the sake of that name. Like,
I thought
something's
they
going on.
did.
That's fair. I also love how they already knew about Susan Triad
Yes.
and how Triad is just an anagram for TARDIS. I love the line when Kate is like, "Well, thank you." Like, yeah, duh, we know. We like that. It's not that hard to figure out.
No, it was so funny. And you can just see like 15 is like, oh, dang it.
Yeah. They're one step ahead because they've already been watching her this whole time. And they say that she like changed the name to Triad like 2 months ago or something.
Yeah. We also get like images of Susan Twist that we haven't seen from episodes in this season.
Why didn't we get those episodes? Those look so
Exactly.
interesting. I want to see the cyborg Susan Twist and the like green alien with horns. Like, what is going on? Come
Yeah.
on. Like, you're really going to show us that, but not show us that?
I know. I was so annoyed.
Yeah.
Oh, the Vlinx is also a part of this episode.
Yes, he's all upgraded. When we talked about the 60th, you said that you didn't trust the Vlinks. Do you still feel that way?
No, I kind of trust him now. I think,
Yeah.
okay, this is going to make people really upset when I make this comparison. I'm not saying the Vlinx is replacing this character, but it's kind of like the modern K9, I feel.
I agree. Yeah, it's the same energy for sure.
Yeah.
I loved the moment between 15 and Ruby where Ruby says, "If it's your granddaughter, like, how do you not recognize her?" And
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like the sad look between like Kate and the doctor, and then he has to explain regeneration. I feel like that's always like such a pivotal moment when a companion learns about regeneration for the first time.
It is. And I always forget how long it takes the doctor every time to have their regeneration talk. And I understand why. But as a
Yeah.
viewer, it's just kind of funny sometimes where I'm like, you've been through so much together, yet you haven't told her you change
Yeah.
faces.
Like this, you should be telling the friends you travel with this. Like they should know this.
Yeah.
Oh, but I loved when Ruby said, don't go changing this phase. And 15 says, "Oh, don't worry. I'm going to keep this one for a long, long time." It's like, okay.
Can we talk about, though, when he's like to Ruby, Susan, that's the name of my granddaughter. And then it just jumps to the intro sequence.
Yeah, that was such a good moment. I just got to get it out of the way. I love Ruby and the doctor's outfits. I don't love the jeans that the doctor's wearing. I wish
I
they
agree.
weren't jeans. Okay, I'm glad. But I do love the white shirt, and seeing the doctor in a leather jacket makes me emotional. Please do not ask any further questions. But Ruby's fit I love. I love her short little denim jacket with the
Mm-hmm.
pinstripes and her dress and her jewelry. She looks great.
She does this episode. I love it. And 15 was giving Ninth Doctor vibes, and it made me
Yeah.
so happy.
Yeah.
I will not be taking questions at this time.
Please respect our privacy during this time.
I love how, like, the way this is going to be a pun, and I haven't even intended it to be, but I love that the twist until the literal end is that Susan Twist was so overly genuinely nice to every single person in this episode.
Poor Sue. So, do we think that Sue was once like an actual nice person and then was like taken over by Sutek, or was Sutek always Susan? What do we think?
I don't know. Kate does mention the whole chrysalis theory about how, like, a caterpillar doesn't know it's a butterfly until, like, it's hatched.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that possibility that, yeah, she has always been nice, and then at the end she more ended up being possessed. But I don't know. I don't know what the end game with her is. If she's a real person, if she was created by Suta. Like, I'm so confused, and I don't know if we'll
Yeah.
get the answer in the next episode or not.
I know. There's a this episode I've seen people talk about how like their enjoyment of this episode is kind of based on how well next week goes. And I think I could still watch this episode and enjoy it even if next week is just like terrible. But
Same.
a lot is riding on next week and I'm a little nervous.
So I'm nervous too. We shall see, though,
We
and
shall see.
I cannot wait.
I love how in this episode we get our current companion, Ruby Sunday, a
Mm-hmm.
child of a past companion, and a classic Who companion.
Yeah.
all the companions unite. I love that Mel is working undercover for units
Mm-hmm.
and, kind of spying on Susan Triad. I love that for her. And I just love seeing Bonnie Langford. Like, as soon as she came in the 60th, I was like, oh my gosh, I love it. I love seeing classic Who companions come into the show. And I think we should be bringing back more classic Who companions.
I agree. And I also especially love that Russell brought her back and has helped like expanded on her as
Yes,
a character because I know she wasn't really a popular companion. So it's fun that like she's getting this new life in
definitely.
the modern series. And so I agree. I hope that classic companions continue to come back.
Hmm.
I love it.
Me too. I love when the doctor brings up Ruby and her reaction to being on screen is so funny. It's like, oh, you should have warned me. Like,
No,
she's
that
just so
was really
cute.
funny.
I will say though, it felt very odd to go from we have this mysterious woman following us to also let's find Ruby's mom. I mean, I yes, the snow does make us believe like okay, there's something going on with Ruby's mom, but it felt very disconnected. It was like, okay, let's do Susan Dryad, but also let's figure out Ruby's mom while we're at it. It obviously it's all going to connect in the end, but as of now, they had no reason to think those two things were connected.
I disagree. I don't think he necessarily thought they were connected per se. I think that's kind of a conclusion he came to at a later point in this episode. I think it was more of
Right.
like he has two mysteries. He has the Susan Triad mystery and he has the mystery of Ruby's mom or whoever dropped off her as a baby because I mean, he was there. He knew it was weird vibes, the snow and just like the mystery behind Ruby. We know the doctor loves a good mystery. So I didn't feel like it was that out of nowhere. I will say, I think the problem with that scene though is there was a very like immediate tonal shift from being like dark and kind of like a
Mm,
mysterious feeling with Susan to like, oh, bright and cheery Ruby's mom. Like, what's this gonna turn out to be? So
yeah.
I will agree with you there. There is a little bit of like, it kind of did change. Like, the subject did change pretty quickly.
Yeah. It was just a little disconnected, but where we ended up was really interesting because I love going to the Sunday apartment, seeing Cherry, seeing Carla. Also, Donna and Carla would get along so well.
They would.
And then they invite Mrs. Flood to come over and watch Cherry.
Which Mrs. Flood having an evil moment was not on my bingo card. I'm so confused when it comes to her. But she literally goes from all happy and cheery and like helpful to watch over Cherry to as soon as Carla and Ruby and Rose leave, she's like, well, Cherry asks for tea and she's like, well, we all like things that will never happen. And then the room just gets dark and starts thundering. And she just says, he waits no more. But she breaks the fourth wall saying that to the camera.
Yes, she breaks the fourth wall again. So, yeah, I have no theory. She could be good, she could be evil. I don't know, but I do know that line. Real one things that whatever the line is, that line is going to be used forever until the end of time.
No, literally. But yeah, that was a shock. I did not expect to see her at all in this episode. For some reason, I automatically assumed like Mrs. Flood is going to be a mystery for like longer than this season.
Ooh, yeah, I don't know. I kind of thought the Ruby's mom stuff would lead into next season, but
Same.
might be getting it resolved. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. I love the whole time window scene, and I love when they realize that she's crying or she's upset, and Carla just says like, "Oh, I got her. Like she's safe," and Ruby's like, I wish I could tell her. Like I've done so much. Like they're so sympathetic towards her, and it's so it broke my heart. It was so sweet.
It was really sweet. It was also really sad and emotional at the same time to think about it.
Hmm.
And like we said in our 73 yards episode, like she is in the Doctor Who Hall of Fame. Like she is
She is.
insane.
No, so talented. She makes me laugh when I need to. She makes me cry when I need to. Like, Millie Gibson, you, all the flowers, all the crowns, you're killing it.
I love when I love the whole exchange between 15 and Kate where he's like, "Kate, do you have a time window? I'm time locked like out of this. I can't go back in the TARDIS." And she's like, "No, you banned it in the 70s." And he's like, "Kate." And she's like, "It's a couple floors down." And that was just so funny and the best thing ever. And I also love how when he saw the time window, he just started laughing and shading it automatically. He was like, "This is what you put together."
No, so doctory. I will say, like, the 15th Doctor, like, I've already loved and I'm on board for the 15th Doctor, but I definitely felt like another click in this episode. I was like, okay, I'm even more here. Like, I get it. I'm really understanding this character more and more. And those little moments, like, it's so doctory. Like him laughing at the time window, like that's so doctory. It's so funny.
Yeah.
I love the conversation that he has with Kate about Susan, and Kate is asking, he has a TARDIS and like she's out there. Why has he never gone back? And he explains like it's because he brings destruction. And it reminded me of that moment in the church on Ruby Road when he says, maybe I'm the bad luck. And I just really love that moment because we've never gotten a clear answer as to why not go back, especially when he
Yeah.
always said like I'll be back, you know. So I really love that conversation between the two of them, and her talking about the brigadier was I always love that, but great moment.
Me too. I found it so sweet, her like not only talking about the Brigadier, but also just sharing like about how she's heard so many tales of the Doctor growing up from the Brigadier. And it was so sweet. And it was so sweet that she told him, like, "No, Doctor, you bring joy." Although I will say she
Yeah.
wasn't feeling joy at the end of this episode. Let me tell you that.
Yeah. Okay. I need to stand on my soapbox for a minute because I've seen some
Please.
people complaining about Kate and being mad at her for being mad. I love that Kate is so fiercely protective of the men and the crew at unit because that she should be. Like I think that that's something that Russell has really like made a big point in her character since taking over, and I really like that. I think it adds more depth. She should be like her their line of work, there is so much stuff and she should take it seriously and want to protect the crew. And of course she's going to be upset when she told the doctor no, like don't let him go around the TARDIS, like stay where you are, and the doctor insisted he had to go behind the TARDIS and it led to him dying. So I think she was completely justified and I think she should be upset. It's her job to protect these people. She's the one that has to let their families know what happened to them.
I completely agree. I didn't have a problem at all with her reaction. It felt very in line with what any commander in chief would feel. Like she knew what she
Hmm.
had to do when the colonel was dead. She also knew that she was upset and she wasn't afraid to have those emotions. And I feel like it's just such a real character portrayal instead of being like, "Oh, you're the doctor. It's okay. Everything's fine," when everything's not fine. Like the doctor being the doctor doesn't automatically mean she doesn't have the responsibility of all of the people under her.
Exactly. Thank you. But this time window scene got really spooky really fast.
Oh my gosh, it did.
As soon as we see the woman pointing at the doctor or past the doctor, we don't know really. And the doctor says, like, the memory of that is kind of, it keeps changing because in the church on Ruby Road, we don't see her pointing. So it's very much like in flux right now and time does keep changing. which is I think is really interesting. And then we just see the shape taking over and we hear the voice and everything changes. It's so spooky.
I will talk about the spookiness in a minute, but in Space Babies, remember there's that scene of a flashback to the church on Ruby Road, and in that clip, the hooded figure is reaching towards the doctor. And remember, we were like, what the heck? That didn't happen in the Church on Ruby Road episode.
Oh, I need to go back and watch Space Babies now. I'll watch that scene.
And the doctor in this episode says memory is time
Mm-hmm.
and time is memory, which I'm a little confused about. Like, it makes sense, but it also doesn't make sense to my
Yeah,
brain.
I agree. I also like, then there's the whole thing of what is the memory of a time machine? So that's going to be interesting. And we have all this stuff about the memory TARDIS and Tales of the TARDIS, and we're going to see the memory TARDIS next week. And so
I'm.
there's that whole thing too.
Yeah, there's so much. There's so much. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But going to that moment in the time window, like you were starting to talk about, with like the life form or cloud or whatever you want to call it, like surrounding the TARDIS, so dang spooky.
Oh, and the voice. It was, oh.
That really had me shook. Also, Carla was in the room at that point with the time window and was like, I know that voice or I know that name. It's the Beast. And in that moment, I was like, wait, we're getting the Beast like from
I was
series
like, they're
two?
bringing the beast from the Satan pit. No, I
No,
completely thought
literally.
the same thing. Which is kind of funny because, like, kind of, it's the same voice
Kind of.
actor.
Yeah. Which there's still so much speculation and not a ton of fact, but some people are thinking that like it's a little bit of a retcon situation where Sutek is the Beast and the Beast is Sutek.
I see them more as being related, like how Sutek and the toy maker and the trickster and Maestro, how they're all related, you know? Like, I think the beast is like part of this, whatever, the pantheon, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no clue. I just found that interesting. But there is that great moment where they're talking about how like Kate and Morris are like, not even the prime minister can come in here. And
That
Morris
was
is like,
especially the Prime
especially
Minister.
the prime minister.
No, that was great. I love later on the moment between Ruby and Carla when Ruby is like, "Well, what do you want me to do, Mom?" And Carla says, "Well, come home." And she's like, "Well, then you're not helping. So I love you, thank you, but goodbye." Like that. That's so real, honestly.
No, it's very real. Something interesting, which I have like two things I'm going to say. The first is I feel like everyone at Unit literally gave Ruby so much hope that they would be able to sharpen like the
No, they
image
were
and the
really getting
video.
her hopes up.
And I'm just like, with something like that, like, yeah, you guys have the technology that we don't have in the real world to like clean up the video, but like also don't go giving her so much hope. Like, it just,
Yeah.
that was a little much and like sad in the end if they can't fulfill it. Also, they have the CCTV tape of Ruby being dropped off at the church by a camera that was 66 meters away from the
Mhm.
church. If you convert that into yards, it's 73 yards.
Yeah. I'm curious if that is a coincidence or something that will come back next week.
I would find it hard to believe that it was a coincidence.
I don't know anymore. I don't
Like,
know
why not just
anymore.
say 66 yards if you wanted to use 66?
I do not know. I'm giving up.
I give up too.
Give up. I love the moment after everything with the time window and the doctor and Mel finally go to see season Triad And I love kind of the doctor's mini breakdown that he has for a sec, and Mel just telling him, "We'll fix it." Like I thought that was just a great moment between the two of them.
I kind of find it comical because the doctor is having this really emotional moment, which he definitely deserved. But Mel is like,
Hmm.
okay, it's all right, babes, but like, let's keep on going. Like,
Yeah, it's
clean
like
yourself up.
okay.
Like, just go. Like, we have things to do. We can't be doing this right now.
Yeah. So I like that Mel kind of put him in his
Me
place and
too.
was like, "Get up and fix it. Stop complaining."
Yes. Before we get to this moment, there's a really important discussion we completely skipped over. We talked about this scene, but we skipped over this discussion. And now it's time for my soapbox
I'm
because I
ready.
do not understand. Okay. The scene between 15 and Kate, where they're talking about Susan and all of that, Kate is like, that means you have kids. And 15 is like, well, not quite, not yet, not quite, not yet. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Because in series 4 of RTD's first run as showrunner, keep in mind he wrote this episode, The Doctor's Daughter. First of all, we get Ginny, like she's created from the Doctor in this
Hmm.
episode, so automatically he has a daughter already. Okay, and like, yeah, he doesn't know that she's alive. He thinks she's dead. She's still his child. But also in this episode, like, he mentions he had kids. He mentioned they literally died in the time war. What do you mean, not
Earlier this
quite?
season, the doctor said, "Dad to dad," and boom. There's been so many other instances in New Who where it's established that the doctor at some point in his long, long life was a father and had
Mm-hmm.
kids. To cope with this moment, because I felt the same way. Okay, I I don't mind the idea that it's like we don't know who Susan's mother is. Like maybe Susan's mother hasn't been born yet. I find that interesting. But
Mm-hmm.
the fact, like, the doctor has had kids already. It's not like these
Yeah.
kids are like, he has had kids. That is an established fact that like, it has been a huge point in the show for many years. So many times the doctor talks about, or it's alluded to, him being a father, having kids. Literally earlier this season, they say dad to dad, and they're talking about it. So to cope with it, I'm like, okay, they're talking about whoever Susan's parents are, maybe those kids aren't born yet, but he has had kids. So yeah, but a weird line when it's like such an established part of the character, an established fact.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah.
thing just makes me mad. I don't understand it. I was screaming at my screen. I mean, not really screaming at my screen, but I just, Russell, you will pay for your crimes one day.
Especially like Russell, this is a thing that you established. Like this is the thing
Literally.
you wrote into the show. So why are we now retconning something you did?
And I'm sorry, we're retconning something you did, but you didn't retcon the timeless child, which, yes, I've come to peace about it. But like, you keep that and you keep the flux. I'm so sorry. The flux pisses me off and has since I've watched the end of that.
Yeah, I'm okay with the timeless child because
Me
I feel
too.
like what Russell's been doing with it is interesting. But yeah, the flux, I'm like,
Yeah.
what are we doing, y'all?
So, needless to say, lots of feelings, and it's probably best we move on before we get on a
Yes.
watch
I'm
list.
choosing to interpret that line in my own way, like how I already said I was going to.
I love when you're able to be Delulu when I cannot be. Flashing forward to kind of like the end of everything and like the start of the reveal. I know we talked about this in the beginning of the episode, but like we're expanding on it now. I did not know I could actually be afraid of the TARDIS. Like when the TARDIS appeared in Unit and was like so sinister, I can't explain the feeling I got.
No, and the growling and kind of the light coming from inside the TARDIS, and then seeing Sutek like form around the TARDIS. Oh, so scary.
So scary. Yeah, like I mentioned, I was genuinely scared. Like, it was scary.
It was.
And like the music with the master and just like everything that like Harriet says is so freaky. And
Mm.
the moment that both Harriet and Susan Triad become like, I don't even know what to describe as, like the skeleton like faces, kind of, that freaked me out. I
Oh
do
yeah.
not do horror. That gave me horror, and I literally could not.
No, that was crazy.
What are your thoughts on 15 telling Ruby to go to the time window?
I'm really curious to see what's gonna happen, and I don't know. Like it's all gonna make sense next week, and we just don't have the answers yet.
So true.
What did you think of the conversation or the moment where the doctor finally gets to meet Susan Triad and he asks her if she has dreams about, being an ambulance and Lindy Pepperbean and all that?
So the moment where he yells, "Do you dream about being an ambulance?" I know that's going to be an out of context clip of Doctor Who that will forever live on the internet and be in every compilation possible.
I love how even Mel was like, "What?"
No, literally. That was funny. Um I found it really interesting that she was so genuinely confused. Like, she had these dreams, she knew the doctor knew them, but she was so confused about how he knew about them. And then she just like goes up on stage. I don't know like how she just kind of like moves on and doesn't like stay on the fact. Like, I know she had like a minute till she had to be on stage, but if I was her, I would have stayed and been like, "Can you help me? You're a doctor."
I know. I hate that. It was like, "Get them out of here. We don't have time." Like, just give us a minute.
I know.
15's reaction to the reveal, his face is so good. Like, such a great performance from Inshuti. Like, incredible.
Kate's reaction to like
Mm,
Sutek and the TARDIS and like the whole scene of her demanding the life form to show itself and then her just like turning around so quickly. Like the scene with the music and the way it's filmed, I with her is just so great. I don't know why that moment has me in a chokehold. And when Harriet starts spewing whatever she's saying, like
yeah.
that all has me in a chokehold. But then yeah, then, before we know it, Susan touches the guy who is trying to help her and he turns into dust. And then she's reaching for the doctor and it says to be continued.
Yeah. Ugh. Such a great moment. Such a great reveal. To me, it's really on par with the moment in Utopia.
Mm-hmm.
The moment at the end of Turn Left. It's great. It's going straight into the Doctor Who cliffhanger Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It is definitely up to par with the whole reveal in Utopia.
Hmm.
I also kind of love the moment. It's not funny, but at the same time, the way 15 said it is a little comical. He's like, "Oh no, it was the wrong anagram."
It was the wrong anagram.
Like,
Yeah, that was great.
yeah, and then oh yeah, the hooded figure is like coming towards Ruby in the time window. The time window's like back on when
Yeah,
she's
and
in
it's like
there.
snowing a lot, and it was broken, but now it's working because it's
Yeah,
remembering. It's really interesting.
very interesting. So, in your opinion, where does this rank in terms of like Doctor Who finale cliffhangers for you?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say it's above Bad Wolf.
Yeah, I agree with you about Bad Wolf. I would say like Turn Left is up there though. Turn Left is at the
Yeah, yeah,
top.
yeah. It's
And
up
then so
there
is
with.
Utopia.
It's up there with Utopia, Turn Left, Pandorica Opens,
Mm-hmm.
Dark Water.
World Enough in Time. Wait, no, that's the finale. It's the Doctor Falls.
Yeah. Wait, no. It's the opposite. The Doctor Falls is the finale. But I was
Whoops.
totally like on board with that for a second. And then I was like, wait.
Great reveal. Russell T Davies did it well. But like we said earlier in this episode, a lot is writing on part 2.
Yes. Do we have any Reddit comments?
We do. I only have a couple because most of the comments were more just like everything we
Subtext.
covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. User Quadpin on the Doctor Who subreddit said, I loved when Ruby asked about regeneration and everyone was like, you didn't give her the talk yet?
No, literally. Kate's face was like, come on.
Yeah, it was a funny moment.
Mm-hmm.
This comment thread had me really laughing because it was really funny. So, user 500 miles high on the Doctor Who subreddit said, prepare to now be paranoid about every character with a first name starting with H. And then a user by the name of Dino Groot one said, Harriet Jones was a harbinger in all caps.
That's funny.
And then someone else responded and said, Harriet Jones, prime harbinger.
Prime Harbinger.
And then someone else said, yes, we didn't know who you are.
That's funny.
Yeah, so that made me just really laugh. And lastly, the user brief-interviews, again on the Doctor Who subreddit, said, best reveal since Yana. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy, in all caps.
Yeah. It's pretty
solid
good.
reveal for sure.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you have to say about the Legend of Ruby Sunday?
I'm scared for next week's episode.
I'm ready. I'm scared, but I'm ready.
Same.
Just a little housekeeping before we go. So next week, of course, we'll have The Empire of Death. Then we'll do a whole wrap-up episode talking about all our favorite moments from this season, favorite characters, outfits, all the things. Then we'll be taking a 2-week summer holiday, a little time off. And then after that, we'll be going back to series 2.
With David Tennant and Billie Piper as the 10th Doctor and Rose Tyler.
Mm-hmm. Let me just tell you now, it's going to be a good time.
Good time for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But with all of that said, we will talk to you guys next week. And as always, don't forget to email us at timeywimePod@gmail.com and follow us on all of our social media platforms.
At timeywimePod.
On Instagram and TikTok.
And we will see you guys next week with Empire of Death.
Bye, guys.
Bye.